Hi, U.S. History class. Mrs. Matlock here. I wanted to share this quote with you today. Don't watch the clock. Do what it does. Keep going. So that's what we're all going to have to do during this time of virtual learning. Just keep plugging away, keep going, and doing the best that we can. So let's start our lecture today on the Middle Colonies. That's our next colonial region. So as you can see, they are on the map in purple, and they are New York, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, and Delaware. And of course, I have drawn a black line around the middle colonies. And take note of little tiny Delaware there, which is below New Jersey. Very small, and it sits, of course, between New Jersey and Maryland there. So those are considered our middle colonies. Students often want to lump New York in with the New England colonies, but that is not the case. During the colonial period, New York and Pennsylvania grew large amounts of wheat and oats, and we automatically think New York City, and New York City does become a commercial seaport. However, the inhabitants are also engaged in other economic pursuits. Now let's watch this video clip about the middle colonies.
Not long after the Plymouth colony was established, a trading company from Holland went into the fur business and started to colonize the area between New England and Virginia. They called their colony New Netherland and soon brought in slaves. As time went by, fierce disputes over trade developed between England and Holland. In 1664, England sent a fleet of ships to capture the capital of the colony, and the Dutch gave up without a fight. The king had given a charter to the land to his brother, the Duke of York, and so it was renamed New York. The Duke gave a large part of his territory to a couple of his aristocratic friends. On this land, the New Jersey colony was founded. Later, it was split into two colonies, but in 1702 was reunited into a single royal colony. The land of the colony of Delaware was originally claimed by Holland, too. In 1631, Dutch traders settled near here, not far from the mouth of the Delaware Bay, but clashes with native tribes soon drove them away. 7 years after that, a ship like this one brought settlers from Sweden, and they established another colony in the northern part of Delaware. They named their colony New Sweden and lived in Swedish-style log cabins like this one. 17 years after its founding, the Dutch wiped out Sweden's colony. After New Netherland fell, the land passed into English hands, and eventually Delaware became a separate English colony. Like Delaware, the land that became the colony of Pennsylvania had been colonized earlier by both Sweden and Holland. Even though he had given this territory to the Duke of York, the king was in debt to the father of a man called William Penn. And to pay it, the king gave William a charter for its colonization. Penn belonged to the Quaker religion. In England, he worshipped in this simple meeting house. Quakers were persecuted in England because they did not follow the teachings of the official Anglican faith. That was why Penn wanted to emphasize his Quaker beliefs of fairness, justice, and equality in Pennsylvania. He also wanted the people of Pennsylvania to enjoy peace, have self-government, and good property rights. Penn's colony was a great success, and its capital, Philadelphia, the city of brotherly love, grew to be the largest city in all the 13 colonies.
So we can see from that video clip that the middle colonies of New York, Pennsylvania, New Jersey, and Delaware were settled by a diverse group of people. with different interests. So in the video clip, of course, farming was mentioned and colonial seaports like New York, but also religious groups like the Quakers and they called it William Penn's experiment. So his experiment in Pennsylvania was also part of this. So on your notes here, because we are taking notes at this time, and so I would advise you to split your screen so that you can watch this at the same time that you are filling in the blanks on your notes. So, settled chiefly by English, Dutch, and German speaking immigrants seeking religious freedom and economic opportunity. So we can see that religious freedom is something that the middle colonies share with the New England colonies, because remember those Puritans and Pilgrims came over for that reason as well. Number two, of course, is more about religion. They believed in the middle colonies in religious tolerance, and this is completely unlike the New England colonies, because remember we learned that they were very rigid in their beliefs and they were very intolerant of other religions, because that's why the entire colony of Rhode Island was founded, because of the individuals that did not want to follow the practices of the Puritans. Number two here says Quakers in Pennsylvania, or examples of religious tolerance are these: Quakers in Pennsylvania, Huguenots and Jews in New York, and Presbyterians in New Jersey. And I want to mention that a Huguenot is a French name for a Protestant. So in essence, a Huguenot is a French Protestant. So this shows all the different types of religious groups that were living in the middle colonies. So freedom and tolerance are important in the factors and significant in the middle colonies. Now we're going to move to the middle colonies economy. So it's a mixture of farming and commerce. That's number one, farming and commerce. Number two, they are also engaged in shipbuilding, small-scale farming, and trading. Small-scale farming, of course, means it's a little bit more than subsistence farming. Remember, we learned in the New England colonies that subsistence farming is just enough for you and your family. However, small-scale farming means that you have some extra to sell to generate a profit. So shipbuilding, small-scale farming, and trading are part of the economy in the middle colonies. And number three, they had a more flexible social structure. They developed a middle class of skilled artisans, entrepreneurs, and small farmers. And to further tell you what an artisan is, some examples would be printers, bakers, or furniture makers. People maybe that made baskets or did pottery. All these people are artisans. So we'll return to that question in a few moments. And, do we have artisans today in our society? We'll revisit that. More about their economy. I already mentioned a moment ago is very diverse with different groups of people from different countries and different religions. And the primary cities are New York and Philadelphia, and as you can see, I have highlighted those in green on this map. So Philadelphia and New York City become the two largest trading areas. And then, of course, we know that New York is one of the most prominent cities in the current United States as well. Okay, so the question at the top of the slide is, who is an alpaca artisan at HHS? And you may have guessed it. It is our own Mrs. Parkin. And my son and I went to Mrs. Parkin's farm, and here she is.
We're at my alpaca farm with my friend Noel and Matlock, and this is Winnie, and we're here today to talk about artisans and what do artisans do. And we came out to the farm first to introduce you to an alpaca, and we raise alpaca for their fiber so that we can process it and then make things out of it. And that's basically what an artisan does. An artisan is someone who works with their hands and makes things.
So, guys, we had a great time at Mrs. Parkin's alpaca farm. Fibers on Winnie are so soft, and I can see why people want goods made out of alpaca fiber. So, alpacas are one of Mrs. Parkin's loves, and I think that you know that from learning a little bit about Miss Parkin at the beginning of the year. And so these animals bring her great joy. And so let's see what else an artisan like Mrs. Parkin would do with their fiber. Mrs. Parkin loves her alpacas and she loves the soft fibers that they provide. But now, what does she do with them? So let's watch a video from Mrs. Parkin and, of course, her handsome assistant and see what the next step is.
Alright, so Noah and I are inside now, so we can show you what that alpaca fiber looks like when it comes off of the animal. This is it, and it comes off like in a big blanket, and it's nice and soft. And we take this to a fiber mill, and when it goes to the fiber mill, they clean it, and then they start putting it into what's called roving, and with big machines, and they'll use the roving to spin it into yarn. No one can show the yarn, so that's the yarn. So it goes from right off the animal, the fiber mill, and then our final end product from the fiber mill is the yarn. So then, when I get the yarn back, this is basically what an artisan would do.
Well, looks like Mrs. Parkin's husband had a little phone call there, but that's okay. So let's see what Miss Parkin does with that yarn. Here is Mrs. Parkin with her loom. She is a very talented lady, and she is going to show you what she does with all the yarn that comes from her alpaca fibers.
Okay, so after we have the yarn back, I will use the yarn to craft things. So this is my big loom. It's a 7-foot loom, and I make shawls out of it, although we can also make several of these and turn it into a blanket. Would you like me to show you how to do a little bit of that? Okay. Alright, so it's called a continuous reed loom, meaning you're only going to use one strand of yarn the entire time, unlike a lot of other looms. And I just kind of go under, over, under, over, under, over, pull my yarn through, and then stretch it on across to the other side. And I'll continue to do this until I have the entire thing complete.
So that is how Miss Parkin makes shawls, and she makes all sorts of other items as well. And if we had been in class, Mrs. Parkin would have brought these items to school, and she would have let you felt the alpaca fibers, because we want to show you that artisans are still very valuable in our society, and they are alive and well. And it's a great way for people to show off their talents as well, and to be able to create really useful things for all of us to use. So thank you, Mrs. Parkin and Nolan. This concludes our lesson on the middle colonies. So here's a reminder today: work hard and be nice to people. And that's pretty much enough said. See you all next time. Take care.